Hi all, let's continue our look at country player legends of the game. These are players that are not currently active on the FIDE rating list, so they might have been great players in the past, many of which have got to later stages of World Championship candidates, tournaments, etc. This player I want to look at today from Germany is close to home on the Internet Chess Club actually, good old YARDBIRD. The bird is the word, Erik Lobron. So he's a very frequent player online. Erik Lobron was born in 1960, a German chess player of American descent, former 2 times national champion. He has been awarded the title Grandmaster by the World Chess Federation. So he was born in actually Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, USA. He moved with his family to Germany at the age of 5 and was subsequently raised in the city of Wiesbaden. So it was soon apparent he had a talent for the game. According to Wiki, he became the national junior champion in 1978. 2 years later, his progress enabled him to get the IM title status and win the West German Championship. And then later he decided to become a full-time chess professional. He broke from his law degree to embark on the international tournament circuit. Several notable achievements from the outset, including victories at Bill 1981, Ramat Hasharon 1982, Manila 1982 with Polyevsky. His qualification as a Grandmaster occurred in the same year, and he followed up with several more tournament wins, either outright or shared, at New York 1983 and 1985, Bill 1986, Brussels and Tarash both 1987, Lyons 1988. And it continues. There's a great tournament track record to read at Wiki. In attempting to reach the latter stages of the PCA World Championship, he scored well at the Groningen 1993 qualifying tournament, outperforming many players rated higher, including Judith Polgar, Topalov and Bariev. Okay, so he's also of note. He's reputed to be have been a successful trader on the stock market during profitable times, and he acquired celebrity status in 2004 when he became romantically involved with the Estonian supermodel Carmen Kass, herself a keen chess player and president of the Estonian Chess Federation. So YARDBIRD on the ICC is mega dangerous when I play him. He always seems to have exciting games. Here against Yasser Seirawan playing white. Knight f3, he plays e6. After c4 we see c5, knight c3, knight c6. And here live book indicates e4 is quite frequently played. More than 1,000 games of e4 here, but actually g3 was played by Seirawan in this game. And now black energetically played d5. In fact, much more frequently played with 491 games as knight f6. So d5 only 23 games, although it does seem to be quite logical. Okay, so we have c takes, e takes, d4. So we're getting a Tarash defense. Knight f6, we've transposed really into a Tarash defense now, with many thousands of games from this position. So this is all pretty standard Tarash defense now. C takes d4, knight takes. Black plays now h6, the main move. And usually players with white actually retreat the bishop here to reinforce the blockade on d4 against that d5 pawn. Quite rare now is bishop takes f6. So maybe a bit too forceful, giving up the bishop there to put pressure on d5 now. That's the intention. Huge pressure on d5. So how does black want to react? Well, a very, very wise dynamic choice in this position was played. In fact, the most frequent move leads to an advantage for white with 7 games only in live book. Lobron played something different. Erik played something different here. And I wonder if you can guess it. What would you play in this position? So you've got this d-pawn issue under fire. What would you play in this position? If I give you a few seconds. Well, I'm not saying it's a brilliant move or anything, but I think it's a great practical move. Bishop g4. So just giving up the pawn to get a lot of pressure on white's position. The engine suggests actually queen takes d5 should be a little bit better for white. Queen b6, but there's a lot of counterplay. There's the bishop pair, and there's a lot of counterplay here for black. In the game, actually, bishop takes d5 was played, which might be technically inferior now. It seems already the engine is almost giving equality with a move like queen b6. But here, actually, bishop takes c3 was played after b takes. And then Erik played queen f6. Okay, so black is threatening this nasty pin of that bishop, and looks to be getting a bit dangerous. The white queen actually gets out of the way with queen c2. I think also apparently c4 was possible just to reinforce the bishop in advance. It shouldn't be too dangerous in theory. So queen c2 was played, and this now allows rook ac8, and black is actually threatening things like knight b4 now with that pin so on the bishop. So is the queen well parked on c2? Well, Yasser didn't think so here. And technically though, queen e4 seems to be a good idea. Maybe even the queen can think about going back to g2 in some lines here, but it hits the bishop. If bishop here, this should be okay. For example, like this, maybe queen g2, and it looks quite good to reinforce that pressure on the diagonal. But in the game, actually, we see now quite a different move, which actually the engine mentions as second to queen e4, queen b2, so it gets out of the way of things, keeps hold of the c3 pawn, gets out of the way of knight b4. It would seem, anyway, it will get out of the way of knight b4. But actually, no, knight b4 is still viable here because of that pin, attacking the bishop. But it offers another pawn, and that is taken, actually. Bishop takes b7, so swapping the b7 pawn for c3, rook takes c3. But now black has a huge threat in this position, which white needs to parry. So what do you think black is threatening here? If I gave you 10 seconds to see what black is actually threatening, if black had another move here, what would he play? Okay, but black is now threatening rook takes g3 check. It's important to see these checks to win the queen. So white stops that with e3. So technically white should be doing in theory okay, but look at black's activity. It's quite a lot. Rook b8. Bishop now goes to e4. Then we see bishop h3. And the rook moves to c1. So it's still nice for white technically. But there is a very good move in this position. In fact, I mean, that was the engine's first choice, rook fc1, and I think it's actually changed its mind. I've literally seen the engine change its mind based on Erik's response. Actually, I think it's more properly calculated the resource that black had after rook fc1. It seems natural to put pressure on that rook along this diagonal. Yeah, the engine's actually suggesting this based on a change of mind. So here, fantastic resource for black at move 20. Can you spot this one? If I give you 10 seconds, you might want to pause the video now. What would you play with black here? Okay, knight takes a2. So it's protecting the rook. It's also putting pressure, it's undermined the knight. It's putting pressure on the knight. And we're also threatening rook takes c1 to win the queen. If rook takes, so we've got all sorts of threats. So white actually played rook takes a2. And this should still be about equal. Rook b takes b3 now. Any other way, what white will be doing well just takes here, and that's great for white. So that's the way to carry on here. Rook b takes b3. White now should consider apparently queen a1 or queen d2. It's getting a bit tricky. White actually played rook takes a7. And this is a magnificent resource now for black in this position. Magnificent. I wonder if you can spot it. And I think this is the move which really makes this game quite notable now. So if I give you 10 seconds, you might want to pause the video here. Black to play. Okay, I hope you got it. It's beautiful. Queen takes f2. So if king takes f2, we've got rook takes b2 check, and black is doing very, very well. Absolutely winning this, because say king g1, we just take the rook on c1. That looks over. White would have to give up the bishop, it seems. Be a bishop down at least. And if queen takes then there's rook takes c1 check, and that's leading to a mate, for example, like this. Or queen e1, it's over, isn't that really? Rook takes e1, this is absolutely winning for black, just a rook up. So queen takes f2, a crushing blow. In fact, yeah, king takes f2 was played, yeah, check, and then rook takes c1. And now, yes, someone resigned. He hasn't got the mate because of the c8 square being covered here. So he has to resign if check. There's rook c8. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that little game. It's a sweet little game, I thought, and one of Erik's more notable ones. And so, you know, a player close to home. I hope you enjoyed that. Comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.